Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to show you some of the bargains that I've bought this week. Firstly, I'll let you know where I bought them from. So I've been travelling about with work this week, and I've been checking Facebook Marketplace before I've been setting off, and I found a couple of bargains. So both were actually in the West Midlands. One I picked up early in the morning on my way down the country, and then the second bargain, and the one I'm absolutely thrilled to have, I bought on the way back from London. I was just leaving London on Wednesday night, and I saw it was available in Birmingham, and I messaged the seller and arranged to pick it up there that evening on the way back. So the first of my bargains is situated here in the greenhouse, and without further ado, let me show you what it is. So I bought these two Colocasia pink china, and these were £5 each. They're in, I'd say that's a 1 litre pot, and so they're decent size, for £5. I think that's a real bargain. Let me put my hand next to this leaf. It's kind of hand size, this leaf almost. Now, the risk with buying plants at this time of year, as I have done before with Colocasia pink china, is that they're cheap because people want to get rid of them before they have to worry about overwintering them. And 2 years ago, when I was actually very kindly given some pink china, I'll just do a bit of weeding here whilst I'm here, and we had a very cold December that year. It was the end of 2022, and they were here in the greenhouse. They had a heat cable running either around them or underneath them, and unfortunately they went to mush. They never came back the following spring. I left them a good while, and they never resurfaced, unfortunately. One of the great things about buying from Marketplace, other than it being cheap, of course, or reasonably priced, let's say, is that you get to meet some like-minded people, and it's really interesting to have chats with them. So where the chap Martin, who I bought these pink chinas from, unfortunately he was at work as I was passing his location. He was at work, so his wife, who was absolutely lovely, gave me the plants and invited me to have a look around the garden. I actually had to get to a meeting myself, so I could only have the quickest of looks, but he had an absolutely fantastic garden. There was foliage everywhere. I wish I could have filmed it. I wish I could have shown you. It was absolutely fantastic, and I wouldn't have got to meet Martin's wife or seen the garden had I not have bought it from Marketplace, of course. So plans for this winter, really it's much the same. I'm going to leave them in the greenhouse, and I'm going to maybe go around an extra time with the heat cable, and hope it's not a really cold winter. If it is, then I'll maybe perhaps bring them indoors or something, treat them a bit differently. But fundamentally I can't do much more than put a heat cable around them. And then next year I'll plant them out. I haven't got chosen a location yet, but there's plenty of space for them, and I will then mulch them in the autumn and leave them in the ground over winter, and I'm pretty sure they'll be absolutely fine and come back in the spring, much in the same way this Musa Baju does. Actually, whilst I'm next to the greenhouse, I will head back in, because the second plant I bought, and the reason I'm so thrilled to have bought it is because it's a replacement for a palm which I lost also to that same cold snap 2 years ago, and that is this bootia. Now, I mentioned in my most recent video that actually I think I'm probably imagining it, but it sort of looks like it's, you know, potentially starting to push out a little bit in the middle there. I really think it's not after 2 years now, but I am going to give it the winter. I'm going to see what happens, if anything else, if there's any further movement. But I am sort of coming to terms with the fact that this has perished. And that, you know, I was so disappointed to lose it. Obviously, it's a lovely palm. It was a lovely palm, and also quite an expensive palm. And I only had one of them. It's the only one I had. So, you know, there was no positives really until now, and that's why I'm so thrilled to have bought this palm that I'm about to show you. And without further ado, here it is. So this Boutia, presumably odorata, the seller wasn't 100% sure because it was just labelled as Boutia when he got it. So he said it could be capitata, it could be odorata. I think palms that used to be called odorata are now used to be capitata and now considered odorata. So I'm sure it is that. It's looking very healthy. Just the odd, you know, bit of damage for whatever reason. It actually, first thing I did was, because I arrived home about 10 o'clock at night on Wednesday, left it outside. It fell over in the wind, and this leaf snapped off. So that's a bit of a funny leaf, but other than that, it's brilliant. Need to do a bit of weeding in there as well. Now this palm, I mentioned that they're quite expensive, Boutias. This cost me £55, and I am absolutely delighted with that. I think it probably should be £100, possibly more. But at £55, I mean, I did submit actually a very cheeky offer of £50, and the seller quite rightly said no, 55. So, but I was thrilled to get it for that price. So this one I'm going to pop into the greenhouse. It's going to spend the winter in there. I'm going to sort of look at it and admire it for a little bit longer first, but it will, in a few weeks, go into the greenhouse. And it will, I'll put a heat cable around it, probably doesn't need it. But just belt and braces for this winter. And then I'm not quite sure what's going to happen to it after that. I will pot it on. I'll put it in a bigger pot next year, unless, of course, I plant it out. If I do plant it out, then one possible location is this corner here of the raised bed, which has proved quite troublesome. And there's all sorts of ferns and weeds and what's that? A stinging nettle or something? Here. But there is, it's hard to see, but there is a gap here of, the bed is basically 60 centimeters wide that way and 40, I think, that way. So in the corner space, you've got 60 by 60 there. So there is room there, I think. But it does seem a bit of a problem spot. I've planted several Chamaerops humilis here, including this one, which is still here because it's some of the pups are still, or were still, green. Sort of they've been swamped really. I need to sort that out. I'm a bit embarrassed by that actually. But I wonder whether it's a problem spot because this section of the bed is north facing. Now, and therefore, is it getting too cold? Is it quite exposed in the winter? I have got some polystyrene in there, which I put in when I built the bed to give it some protection. But other than that, it's really free draining. It's a perfect location. Cordylines love it. Musabaju love it. This Wallamy pine absolutely adores it, as does the Trachycarpus. So it's really strange that this corner here, Shamrops just isn't interested in growing. With that in mind, I'm a bit nervous about trying such a precious plant in that spot. Other than that, I was wondering the other day whether I should. Got the apple tree here, and we eat a lot of the apples. Obviously, a lot end up on the floor as well, but that's sort of prime position. That's facing south, and next to it, there I've got a sort of small section of grass here in front of this border, and that's prime real estate really for a palm tree, because that would be facing south. So I could potentially make that into a bed, and plant that there, give that pride of place at the bottom of the garden. That's another option. Or I could just put it into a pot and think about it a bit longer. We'll see. So that's it. 2 or 3 bargains really, because 2 Colocasia pink china and 1 Boutia odorata. Really pleased with them, especially the Boutia. I think that's an absolute bargain, and I'm really excited to own one again, to be a Boutia owner. So yeah, that's it for this week. Thank you very much for watching, if indeed, of course, you still are.
Like and subscribe.